It has been 3 weeks since Hurricane Helene devastated communities in the North Carolina mountains. Some areas could take months, even years, to recover, right? Others could be open for business before we know it. Which places to visit and which places to avoid and when, that's all tricky to navigate. Joining me tonight to help sort this all out is the president of the Boone Chamber of Commerce, David Jackson. Mr. Jackson, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having us. Appreciate the opportunity.
Let's start with how your town is doing in the weeks since Helene hit. Where do things stand?
You know, Boone and Blowing Rock here in Watauga County fared a lot better than others, especially weeks away from this. The city centers here in Watauga County are faring quite well. It's the roads out in the county, the places that are so beautiful at this time of year when people often are up here looking at leaves and seeking that high country beauty. Those are the places that lead to parts of our community that are still very much dealing with devastation. So we've asked here in Watauga County for people to stick to the main thoroughfares, to stick to the city centers. Appalachian State University came back to school this week. That was an important step for us, and those students have been adhering to those same wishes and desires right now. And that's just, as I said a moment ago, the first step toward us finding out what kind of volume we can support here responsibly, while also being mindful of the people that are still very much dealing with loss and will for quite some time.
Well, let's talk more about all the other areas. Visit NC has a great interactive map that shows which parts of Western North Carolina are open to visitors. Watauga County is still in the red, suggesting people should not come. Boone is in yellow, meaning people should call ahead. Based on what you were just mentioning, I'm curious, does that sound accurate to you?
Well, I think that's the part that is the hardest to communicate here, is that there are no such things as absolutes in Western North Carolina right now. So even day to day, you can see that communities will have delays and interruptions because of taking temporary patchwork things and turning them back into permanent. We've seen temporary lane closures and road closures become fairly regular in some of those county roads especially. So that's why I think the call ahead advisory is still there. North Carolina DOT is, no pun intended here, driving the car on this, and they are the ones that are out trying to make those necessary infrastructure repairs, and they are probably the best to advise people on where some of those, again, mountain roads are leading to. Further complicating this is that the Blue Ridge Parkway is closed in North Carolina indefinitely, and that is, again, not only a popular thoroughfare, but that's a way that we get around our community here in Watauga County. So with that closed, that means more congestion, and that means things are just a little bit slower than maybe we'd like it to be, but that's also part of our reality right now.
Sure. You mentioned a call ahead advisory. Is that what people should be doing? Can you expand?
You know, I think with Boone and Blowing Rock, I think that call ahead could maybe be a step further and say, as long as you stick in the city centers, we can handle that now. We see restaurants open, retail shops open. Our hotel volume is a little bit hit and miss right now because we have so many displaced families, FEMA workers, aid workers that are staying in those places and need to be there. So what we're telling people to do is prioritize the day trips if you can. If you are seeking overnight accommodations, you're going to have to just realize that your favorite hotel might not be available right now. And as time moves on, we are seeing day-to-day improvements. That means the message is going to change. So that's where the call ahead part comes. We may have better answers at the end of one week than we did at the beginning of the previous.
Anyone in particular that folks should be calling, or is it more just the restaurant that they want to go and stop at on their way to check out the foliage?
Well, people have done a great job of seeking out their favorite local businesses, and we always encourage to do that in Chamber of Commerce land, right? But High Country Host has been a great partner. They're a regional visitor center that many people are familiar with here in Western North Carolina. The Chambers of Commerce have good information on that, the towns and counties. But I would again caution people to temper your expectations. Just as Boone and Blowing Rock might be in a position to have more people in our city centers right now, you're talking about places like Spruce Pine and Marshall and some of Banner Elk, some of those beautiful places in our community that have been rocked by this and are nowhere close to being able to be the community that you remember them to be right now. We need to be respectful of that and understand that people are dealing with devastation that we've never seen here. And that takes time to recover from, both physically and mentally.
Yeah, we've seen so many businesses there helping each other out. You know, Stick Boy Bread Company has a rack of baked goods so that they were paid for ahead of time so that people could just get them for free. Anna's Bananas had a relief store going, taking donations. There are so many examples of this. Tell us a little bit about the business community that's really stepping up.
Well, you know, I've said for many years, Ashley, that the mountain folk here in Western North Carolina, we take care of our own when times are tough. But it has been the generosity of people off the mountain from Raleigh, Charlotte, Greensboro, parts all throughout the country, really, that have some special tie to this place. They maybe met a spouse here, went to school here, just grew up vacationing here. And so that has made for that desire to give back. So our business community rallied around that when it was just really us up here and found ways for people to connect. So whether it was the Stick Boy Bread Rack, we've seen constant examples of this through downtown Boone, and even in some of those communities I mentioned before, where business can't necessarily happen physically right now.
Yep.
You can still support those small businesses, and the generosity of those donations and just checking in on people, the physical supplies we saw, that kept us going for the better part of those first 2 weeks.
Right.
So when you do come back here, you're going to get a hug around the neck from that business owner or that hotelier that genuinely is appreciative for the ways that you were creative in helping support us during the toughest times.
David, thank you again for being here. We wish you and your town all the very best.
Thank you very much. The fair looks great too.
It sure does. Okay, thank you.